Hello, friends. This is Christopher Davis-Shannon, and welcome back to the Magic Ukulele podcast. In this installment, we'll be hopping over to the continent, to northern Italy, to chat with Marco Todeschini. I don't say it lightly when I truly believe that Marco is making some of the most innovative ukuleles out there, with a practice rooted in affordability and sustainability. Let's see what he has to say. Good morning, Marco. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning, Christopher. Okay.
It's really great to see you. You just got back from Rome not too long ago, working on a
Yeah.
very interesting project that I just want to begin by talking about.
Oh,
Uh,
great.
and I love for you to just tell everyone why you were in Rome and the very special instruments that you've been working on for that
Yeah.
project.
It was quite a very interesting project and also a little bit random, I have to say, because it was not planned. I can say that uh, people who follow me from a few years knows that I built a special model made with composite materials that was called Sacco, and that I stopped making it about 3 years ago, I guess, because the using of a lot of resin was not so comfortable in my little workshop.
Sure.
Okay. And after I stopped making the model, I started doing a lot of experiment in order to find a way to make the same shape with more safe materials. Okay, and one of the experiment led me to the paper mache material. Okay, and this is the reason I went to this event in Rome because together with other luthiers, Italian luthiers who makes especially classical guitars and but also gypsy guitars, the manouche ones. Okay,
Okay.
we joined together in a group. The name is Movimento Papier Mache. Okay, a movement, and in which inside of this group each one of us is trying to take the experiment of using cardboard and in my case papier mache to make instrument. And the first experiment was made by Antonio de Torres, who is the father of classical guitar,
Certainly, yes.
back in 1860 something, I guess. And so it was quite a old experiment in order to prove that the important part of the instrument is the soundboard. So Torres made a guitar, a classical guitar, in which the soundboard was made with the good old spruce, okay, and back and side with cardboard. In this way, he tried to prove that the sound is mainly made by the way you make the soundboard, okay. Whatever material you use for back and side, if you choose um, a specific way of making the instrument, it doesn't matter so much as the soundboard material. So we went to Rome and we make a little conference in which each one of us explained the experiment, the successes and the fails, whatever you do in this experiment. Okay, it
That's
was
so
quite
wonderful.
fun.
And you say that Torres was trying to prove that the soundboard was the most important piece of
Yes.
of the instrument. And do you think that that theory plays out in practice? Do the paper mache and cardboard and different composite materials that you use from the back and sides
Uh,
impact the sound so much?
Yes, I think that impact the sound much a lot. Okay, but you I have also to say that you can find instrument made in the exact opposite way, in which you carefully choose the material of back and side. You tune the back in the same way you tune
Mm.
the soundboard. And even in that case, you can arrive to have very high-end and wonderful instrument with a lot of sound. So there are two ways, and the difficult part is that both ways are good. Okay, so it is even harder to decide which one you have to follow,
Sure.
but each one of them is good. Of course, you have to study in order to improve and take whatever this way can offer. Okay, but it's not a religion. Okay, that you have to choose
Mm.
one or another. Okay, in my case, I think that choosing that kind of way combined with my way of building, the material I used, and a lot of things that probably I don't know, if I combine everything together, it works. Okay, but it's not the only truth. Okay, you can choose also the other way, and it works.
Yeah, and this is certainly something you've been working on for a very long time. You mentioned your Sacco ukulele a few minutes ago, which I think is the first ukulele I ever saw built from you. That's
Okay.
really made me aware of your work was the Sacco, which I thought was beautiful because, as you said, you were making it from resin back then, and I know for the past few years you've been trying to find a new formulation for the Sacco, to find something easier to work with, more sustainable. And can you tell us a little bit about the Sacco ukulele, how and why you developed it, and your journey in finding the new material to build it with?
Okay, the first Sacco was made in 1919, I think, and after about a year of tryings and failings, a lot of failed Saccos, and the reason I decided to make it, um, there is not a reason. A lot of of models that I make are not for a well thought reason in which you sit on your table, you do your maths, and you decide, okay, there is the model that will give
You
me
make it
success.
because you feel like making it, and
Yes,
that's a good
okay.
enough reason, right?
Okay, this is the reason. Um, because I always like to try new things, and I see that if I stuck too much time with the same models, um, I lose something of what I love in this work. Okay,
Mm,
and this is the main reason that I started experimenting with these strange materials that are strange for instrument making, not in other industries. But I like to pick from other industries that I like, and to put them in small scale and artisanal way in the instrument making. And the the biggest example of this is right Sacco, because the industry from which I picked is the composite materials for aircraft making, and very cool stuff, much bigger than what I am in my very small workshop. Okay,
yeah.
and I made the first one I see in 1919, and I s- I kept making them for a couple of years, I think, and yes, it was a very strange method because it involved vacuum and a
Mm.
mold, and there is a video that I put on YouTube in which you can see all the resin moving with his own life inside the mold because of the vacuum. It's quite cool, and the method is it was very difficult to get done. It took me about a year, and also even after making the first one, there was a lot of problems because in order to get one shell done, I always had a lot of failed shells that I have to discard. And this was one of the reasons that eventually led me to decide to stop making because I was using really a lot of resin, not only to make the successful sacco, but also to make all the others that died
That didn't
in the
work.
process.
Yes.
Okay.
but yeah, but you've been working now for God, a year or two, right, on a new composite material to use
Yes.
for the back of the sacco that is a little bit easier to work with. I hope for you because I know that part of what you want to do as a luthier is make good luthier built instruments accessible to
Mhm.
people, and that's part of the sacco is so that it's not a super expensive instrument that everyone can afford and have a good instrument in their hands. And of course, not having waste is part of that, right? And having the streamlined process.
Yes. The cool part is that in my mind, when the method will work, it will be easy. But now it's not. Okay. And I say it's very cool for me because if it isn't hard to get, it will not be funny to do the experiment. Okay, I don't
It's
know.
much like music, right? So much of it is about the story behind the project that you're
Yeah,
making as much as the project itself.
yes. Currently, the method is almost done. Still a bit tricky, but I'm positive. I'm always too much positive about this thing. I guess too much.
That's a good way to be, though.
Okay. I'm positive it will be easier in a couple of months. I have to remake from scratch the mold in another material, but after that, the good part is that unlike the resin method, in which I have to stay very careful about what I touch, I have to use
Mm.
gloves, the spills of resin around, and a lot of headache. Okay. Uh, with this method, everything is much more like doing a cake. You mix the materials together with your own hands without any special equipment, and then mm, you just have to wait. This is the harder part. Let it
Yes.
dry for 2 or 3 days and don't touch it. It is really the hardest part to
Yeah.
wait.
And then once you have the composite shell for the sacco, from there it's the soundboard is a traditional soundboard, right?
Yes.
That you would carve just like with any other instrument. Is the sacco one of your models that you use a bolt-on neck for, or is that a set neck on that? Because that's something interesting that's always caught my eye about your designs. Is you're one of the few luthiers in the ukulele space I know that uses bolt-on necks
Yes.
for some of your models, as opposed to the Spanish heel or a set neck. And what inspired you to start using the bolt-on neck because it's such a non-standard um, way in the ukulele world.
Okay, I started making the bolt-on neck with the Galileo models,
Mm-hmm.
and Galileo was born right for a reason, unlike Sacco. It has a very practical reason. I stopped making Sacco, but Sacco helped me a lot in the finding a sort of economical um, balance in my work life. Okay,
Yeah.
and so when I stopped making it, I decided to make another model that has to be uh, quite easy to be done, but that has to sound really good. And after some experiment, I I do I did the Galileo model. The Galileo model has the bolt-on neck, So when I made the Galileo, I wanted to try if this dogma about bolt-on neck was true, and
Mm.
just finding out that the sound was not affected by this way of attaching the
By
neck.
the attachment of the neck, certainly.
Yeah.
Well, and the Galileo is interesting because, if I recall correctly, that's the
Mhm.
one that you carve the back and sides from a single piece of wood,
Yes.
right? As opposed to having separate back and sides, and those two things, the bolt-on neck and then a non-traditional body, but yet you still have a rather traditional sounding
Yeah.
ukulele, which is
Yes.
I think incredible, and shows that maybe you don't have to do things the what we see as the correct way in instrument building. And for yourself, Marco, you studied luthery at school in Milan. Am I
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So you of course studied all of these traditional ways of building classical guitar and
Yeah.
ukulele, which is of course the side of that. And you've really, I think, in your career as a luthier, pushed back against so many of those traditional ideas and constantly tried. I mean, of course, I've played one of your ukes that is a very
Mm.
normal built uke, and it's an amazing instrument.
Okay. Thank you.
And you told me it was an older one. I think too. It's from, I think, maybe 2018, 2019. The one that I had
Hmm.
played, a phenomenal instrument. But so many of the models that you make, the Galileo, the Sacco, the UFO, which we need to talk about in a little
Okay.
bit because that is a wild instrument, are so obviously informed by what you learned at school, because you know the quote unquote correct way to make instruments, yet you insist on trying new things with all of your models. And what spurred your journey into that, from being a traditional luthier studying Milan to saying, I'm going to do whatever I want and make instruments that are totally outside of the ordinary?
Good question. I don't know. I guess it's a sort of um, evolution, but a very fast evolution because right after the school, but actually while I was still at school, I started making ukuleles that were not so normal, and the UFO itself was born during the school, at
Oh,
least.
okay. And
So in
let's talk a little bit about the
okay.
UFO for a moment here. So it's wood and composite material, solid, kind of solid body. Is it a chambered body on
I
there? But
don't know.
it's
I don't know anymore because
but it's an electric instrument, really,
it's
is what it was
electric.
conceived
Yes.
as. Yeah, and I've unfortunately never had the chance to play one of them. One day I will,
Okay.
because they're such an exciting instrument. But that is, I mean, that's about as far away from a traditional ukulele as you get, from the body shape to the construction method, to it not being primarily an acoustic
No, no, no.
instrument. So as you said, that was part of school when you were in Milan. You first created that there, and
Yes.
I'm curious, how was the reaction from your teachers in Milan?
Oh, no, no. The cool part of that school is that it's a very traditional and old style school in which the teacher are there teaching for decades, okay?
Mm.
But even if this is the style of the school, the teacher themselves are very open-minded.
Oh,
And
that's beautiful.
one of the biggest fan of UFO was my one of my teacher, and I remember that I I started talking about this model I had in mind during the lunch with my teacher with a teacher, and we started putting ideas of materials, colors, and aliens inscription on the instrument, and it's very strange, and you're not prepared to find this kind of open-mindedness from a teacher that builds lute,
Yeah.
historical mandolins, and this kind of instrument. But this is the very cool part of that school because um there are all the kind of words in the instrument making, the new and the old, all together. So you can pick whatever you want, and you have the guidance of people that knows this kind of stuff for a lot of time in their life, and it was very cool. Okay.
That's great. I love to hear that it was so accepted from the get go. And I know you and I have talked before that you and our friend Paolo Bianchi went to the same
Yes.
school, and he also does some very funky designs in the ukulele world. And I think that's a testament to where you both went and studied. That they're so accepting of something new, and I think it's something as a player that we need in the ukulele world. There are so many amazing builders out there making traditional ukuleles in the Hawaiian style, and then in the Martin style, you know, like
Mhm.
traditional mainland ukuleles. I Hundreds of incredible builders, but I personally love to see people that are trying new things in the space. And I really love your ethos of trying to make the luthier built instrument more accessible to people. And I know the Bardo model is a large part of that, which is a similar to the Galileo, right? Your
Yes.
Bardo, but a smaller model, a portable model, and a very inexpensive model. I mean, if I recall, they're not much more than buying a standard a decent
Yes.
production ukulele, and you can
Yes.
have one that's hand built, and that's unheard of. But how how do you manage to do that? Because I think of just the cost of woods and of course your labor to make an instrument. How do you manage on especially the Bardo, which I think is your least expensive model? How do you keep the cost down while still being able to run your business and make it work?
Slavery. Okay. No.
Passion is the word.
Okay.
Passion.
No, no. Especially for Bardo, I think that it's just the sum of a lot of years going in that direction. Okay, from the beginning of my journey in instrument making, I had this idea of making a handmade instrument that were affordable to normal people. Okay, and at the first moment, in the first moment, it was very hard because the only way I knew to make instrument was the methods that school taught to me. So the traditional one that are very time expensive and with the in which you choose the best and rare materials you can find in the planet. Okay, so something very different from what I wanted to do. So since my instinct, my way of intend the instrument making was different, I kept all these very important teachings from the school, but I started studying a lot of new methods, and all the models that you talked about was were different mm, incarnation. I don't know
Mhm.
what to say
Yeah.
about this willing that I had. And Bardo, after a lot of years, probably is the mm, what word I can say, the end of the journey, but maybe the end. No, is said
The
to say
beginning
the
of the
end.
new journey, but maybe the culmination of your
The
years of
culmination. Okay, this is
work.
the right
Yes.
word. The culmination, and
Yeah.
this is how I managed mm, to keep the price low. All these about 12 years, maybe a
Mm.
little more, of experiment, putting all of these experiment, the successful ones, in this new model. Okay, and so I put a lot of traditional and made techniques, but mainly a lot of CNC routing techniques. In this way, I can have a model in which I have a kit coming out from my CNC machine,
Mm.
and I just have to build this kit, send it, finishing, doing the setup and all the other stuff. Okay,
Right.
but a lot of labor is done by the CNC machine. Um, my idea is that we luthiers, we don't have to be afraid about this kind of machine. They can help a lot. We just have to have clear in mind that some jobs are done better but by a human hand, and some other jobs are done better by a machine. If you
Yeah.
can combine these different methods together, you can have a very accessible instrument with the core part, that this is the important part, in my case, the soundboard, that is
Mm.
still made by your own hands, and this is what matters at the end for the sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. No, that makes perfect sense. Melding the new methods with the old methods, but still maintaining that traditional practice, especially with the soundboard. And speaking of the soundboards, you use some very unique woods for your soundboards, and I take it that most of them are local woods to you, or at least to Europe. I know you work a lot with Italian cypress, which is not a traditional soundboard wood. I know it's used for the back and sides in some flamenco guitars
Hmm.
historically, but you also use things like yew, walnut,
Hmm.
cherry, I believe. So you're not working as much with the traditional spruce and cedar and mahogany, and I know I'm sure you do as well, because of course you live in a region where there is beautiful spruce
Yes.
available to you in northern Italy. That's some of the best and most prized spruce in the world is right where you live. But what pushed you towards playing with these more untraditional soundboard tops, and something such as let's say cypress, which is a rather dense softwood. I'm not sure if that's the right way to put it. It's still a softwood, but it's a very hard softwood that might not be traditionally used as a top. um, how do you change the way that you work on a soundboard to get the liveliness you need from some of these less traditional woods versus spruce, which is very soft and moves very easily?
Okay, the cool part of making ukuleles is that a lot of rules you have in guitar making are there aren't. Okay, so
Rules don't exist in the ukulele world.
so I just kept this basic idea. Okay, you can find ukuleles that are made with the body from the same wood, mahogany, koa,
Yeah,
whatever you want. Okay, and the other ones is are made with hardwood for back and side and a softwood for the top. Okay, so you have these two main ideas. Uh, in this case, I didn't invented anything. I just
sure.
do the very same thing, but using local European hoods. Okay,
Mm,
so I can make instrument with all the body made with cherry or just back and side, and the top is made with the traditional spruce. Okay, as you said, I have to work with different thicknesses and mm, sometimes also bracing if I choose different wood for the soundboard. But again, the cool part of the ukulele making is that they are accepted both in the aesthetics and in the sound, even if the woods of the soundboard are hardwood or dense softwood like cypress. So it's difficult to have a result both in the sound and the aesthetic that is not accepted by the market of ukuleles. Okay.
yes. No, that is certainly one of the beautiful things about the ukulele world is it is accepting of anything,
Yeah.
especially in regards to woods. all maple ukuleles, which is something you might not dream of with a guitar to do a
Yeah.
maple top. And of course, we view it as okay. And you mentioned a moment ago about bracing, and I know that you use a few different methods of bracing. I know one of your ukuleles has radial bracing on it. And what bracing methods do you use, and how have you come to prefer those methods of bracing versus the traditional some people in a soprano just using one or two ladder braces
Yes,
and
me
nothing
too.
else. And I'm sure with such a thin top, right, and a small instrument, it makes total sense. But what can you tell us a little bit about your experiments with different bracing types and why you prefer the ones that you do on your instruments?
Okay, I started, of course, using the traditional bracing because even if you like try strange stuff like me, uh, instrument making is made almost with a lot of fear. Okay, Uh, so when you know that something is very important for the life of the instrument, it's very difficult to try new things because
Mm.
you always have the scare of okay, it's gonna explode, it's not enough. Okay, so for a lot of the first years I just used the traditional bracing. I then tried to use on the tenors the X bracing like
Mm.
the acoustic guitars,
Yeah,
of course very small X bracing with less brace
sure.
around the X. And when I started making the Galileo, I came up with this new, for me at least, bracing pattern that still doesn't have a name, I guess. In my mind, I call it radial instead
Mhm.
of radius. Okay, it's
Yeah.
different because in this radial bracing, you just have a um, bridge plate under the bridge and a lot of rays like the sun coming
Okay.
out from the bridge plate. Okay.
So your bridge plate becomes the stiffest part of the body, and then as it radiates out, you get
Yes,
thinner.
on the tenor, yes, and also in the bigger scales, you just have this bridge plate that is quite thin. It's just
Mm.
1.3 millimeters under the bridge. Okay, and from this bridge plate you have these beams of braces like the sunbeams, okay, that
Yes.
go through the edge of the instrument. While they go through the outside of the instrument, the braces goes down in thickness. And mm, there is a reason in this method because when I decided to make the Galileo, it was a moment in my life as luthier in which I was studying more um acoustic physics than other kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And there are nowadays some luthiers that are making courses for other luthiers in order to learn this kind of thing. And I was making one of these courses that taught us that one of the main reason of having a big sound of an instrument is the way in which the soundboard can move like a up and down like a subwoofer, okay,
Hmm.
like the cone of a speaker. And this is not the only way in which it moves, but this is the way that affects most the final volume. Okay, so the bracing made in this radial way can improve this movement.
Yes,
You can
it
imagine it.
just clicked in my mind
Okay,
how the idea works. Yes, and that makes perfect sense.
okay.
Right, moving like the speaker cone, and you create that that radial shape of a speaker so that it moves in that space.
Yes, it's quite a difficult subject because this idea was around for a lot of time. Even when I was at school, there was this idea of the soundboard like a speaker cone, and a lot of teacher told us that it wasn't true, and they were right, because it is not the only way it moves, but the scientific method now told us that is it is the movement that most increase the volume of the instrument.
Hmm.
There are other movement in the soundboard,
Sure.
like the rocking one. The bridge has to rock like a cuddle, okay,
Hmm.
and others one that are very difficult to explain with my bad English. But I have to move my hands. But in a podcast is they are useless. Okay.
Yes, I know. I love that you're experimenting with new methods of bracing, because that's another thing that is so bound in tradition in luthier spaces. And the ukulele is its own instrument. It's something special and unique, and I think really open to innovation in the space. I'm curious, Marco, what is next for you? What is the next great evolution of your instruments, and what are you working on now?
Now, and now, great. I don't know. It's great. It's just I have to finish the method for the new sacco. It is
Hmm.
uh, my next step, and I want to make other bardos, because I made quite a lot the next summer, and with the idea of keeping them in stock
Hmm.
in order to sell them without the waiting list. That is one of the main cause of people don't buying from luthiers. Of course, also the cost of the instrument itself, but the idea of waiting a lot of time is very not so comfortable for a lot of people. Okay, so making other bardos in order to stock them, and send one from to a very well-known friend who makes reviews in ukuleles, and
Okay, I could guess
who's
who that might be.
okay. He stopped, but maybe
Yes.
you
Well,
don't
now
know.
it's very
Okay.
obvious who it is.
Okay. Okay. Let's see, because these are ideas from a lot of months ago. Every time I have a new idea, I write something. Okay. There is okay. I have I put a note that when it will be time to make my 500 instrument. Now I am at 400 and something. I would like to make a new model inspired by the old Italian car 500.
Oh, okay.
Okay, with the same aesthetic.
Very cool.
So
I look forward to seeing that.
okay. So puffy, fat, but very cute. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one. The other one was make one in a comic style, and I did it. But okay, it was an experiment. Uh, oh, wow! I forgot about this. To make one like romantic guitars,
Okay.
but in a new with something new inside, and of course smaller. Okay, so a modern take of the romantic style of
Mhm.
romantic guitars. Oh, and this one is cool. A very small one. Okay, inspired by my. I have a little baby uh, who in Italian, when we want to say a little baby to another little baby, so an easy word to say is tato. Okay,
Dato.
tato. And this will be a new model. Tato is a very small one, very portable, but in my mind, I have to see if it is possible with a lot of strings. So the fretboard will be quite short, and you will be able to access very few frets. So just for strumming and
Okay.
few other stuff. But when you strum, you have an orchestra, okay? Because
I love
maybe
it.
you have four courses with three strings for each one, okay?
So a 12-string tiny
Yes,
ukulele.
yeah. And the last one I see here is a headless benjolele. Okay.
A new banjolele in
See,
the
but
world.
in
I love it.
futuristic style, sci-fi, like the
Hmm.
UFO, but in banjo.
Okay.
It's quite a suicide because I know that in the banjo market, nobody wants this kind of stuff. They are
Oh,
stuck with.
yeah, but ukulele players love banjoleles, and they
Okay.
love odd ones. There's some great unique banjoleles out there.
Um, I think. I know another one, like a triangular one, like a balalaika,
Okay.
and then to move the bardo design to a bigger shape and make a
Mhm.
crossover guitar.
Okay. There's a lot to do in the future for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marco, I have to ask you one last question. Which this podcast is all about luthiers and their work. So aside from yourself, who is your favorite luthier that is currently building ukuleles?
Oh, it's not a nice question,
It could be more than one if you'd like.
but okay. I am very friend with Tom Ziegenspeck.
Ah, Tom, lovely.
Yeah,
I have him on my list
yeah.
to contact to come on this show. I love Tom's work. I think he's doing some really interesting things. I've gotten to play some of his ukes, and
No,
they're
so
wonderful.
my answer is Tom. Also because I always thought about him like the German myself. Okay, so
I think that's a fair characterization. Yes.
okay, so
Cross
yeah,
cultural ukulele tinkerers.
yes, but also he's very good in a lot of things that I stopped making while pursuing these new method
Mhm.
ways. Okay, because it has a cost to make this kind of experiment. Of
Of
course,
course.
you 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 stop making a lot of things that are normal for luthiers, and in this way you not improve. Okay,
Hmm.
okay,
Hmm.
you have to make a balance. Okay, so maybe I'm better in designing new things, but my sharpening skills are under the ground. Okay, is many times I look to other luthiers, normal luthiers, let's call them in this way, with a lot of admiration because they are samurai of chisels and gouges. Okay, they are
Sure.
very, they are samurais. Yeah, a lot of skills that in the last few years I stopped using, and in that way they didn't improve.
A- And they
But
keep, and others keep refining those.
yeah,
That's great. Well, Marco, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and talking to me. And for everyone listening, I will link to Marco's website in the comments because you do need a visual for his instruments to fully understand and I think appreciate them. So thank you again, Marco.
thank you, and sorry to all for my bad English. I hope it's enough to understand.
Your English is amazing, my friend.
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon, Marco. This podcast is brought to you by the Magic Ukulele Club, the largest ukulele jazz learning community in the world.